In this video, you're going to get to attempt 3 GRE verbal questions, and this will give you a better sense of where you're likely to score on the test. Hi, I'm Chris of Target Test Prep, and today we're going to dive into these 3 questions, but I encourage you to do it the following way. So pause the video when you see the question and actually attempt it yourself. You might even want to open up another little browser or even have a scratch piece of paper with you where you can write the answers down and really commit yourselves to them. And that way, when I go through the explanations, you're going to have actually thought through the question itself. And I think this is going to land a lot better. So make sure to pause that video, attempt the question, and then I'll go through it right away. Starting with the first question. Here it is. So pause your video. Okay, I assume you've paused the video. Let's take a look at this sentence. So it says here that Beckham has done something with this poetry collection, and it's a blank addition to poetry anthologies in general. But we need to read more. So we read here at the end, and it says that there is a dearth of commendable works. And so those are the 2 words we really want to focus on right there: dearth and commendable. Dearth is a lack of, definitely a high frequency GRE word, and as is commendable. If you commend somebody, you praise them. So if something is commendable, that means it's worthy of praise. It's really good. Now let's couple that together with dearth. If there's a lack of good works, then hers is going to be a what? Hers is going to be a welcome addition because you typically don't have many commendable works such as hers. And so if you look here at the very end, that such of hers ties it all together, and it leaves us with a positive word for the first blank. So I look at A, extraneous. Extraneous means something that's extra, not needed. But hey, this is something that's positive and helpful to this field in general. Then we have welcome. If something is welcome, it's positive. It's a good addition. So we look like we're going to check that one off. That looks like a solid answer, but let's check the other 3 just in case. Ambitious. Ambitious can be seen as positive, but here we want something that shows that, hey, it's a good thing to have her poetry or his poetry or their poetry in this specific genre or in the specific field. But is it an ambitious addition? Can ambitious also be tinged with a little bit of, oh, you were trying too hard, but you didn't quite make it? And so that's not what we're going for here at all. So we can get rid of C. And then D, subjective. That's another good trap. If something is subjective, it's, well, a lot like poetry. So you might come into this question with your own background knowledge of what you think poetry is. And subjective sounds pretty good. And so you choose it. But again, we're looking for context clues. And those context clues here again are dearth, commendable works such as hers. And finally, premature. That introduces the element of time. It's saying these works came out too early. If only they had waited longer. But there's no contextual clues around that. So again, B is our answer. Now let's dive into another question type. And I'm going to preface this by telling you that this is a slightly different question type than the first one. The first one was very traditional, so I didn't even introduce it. You choose one answer and that's it. But if you're new to the GRE, there's something called sentence equivalence questions. And they always have 6 answer choices surrounded by brackets. And there's always exactly 2. 2 of those answer choices which are correct. And why are they both correct? Well, they have to create similar or equivalent sentences. And what that often means is that these 2 words are synonyms, because if you put similar words or synonyms into a blank, it's going to result in a sentence that has the same meaning. Okay, well, with that said, let's dive in here. It says, even his fervent supporters struggle to reconcile Douglas's blank public persona with the pugnacious temperament revealed in court by several former employees. Now, you might not know what pugnacious means. It is a GRE word, maybe not the most high frequency and one of the harder ones, but sometimes you don't have to quite know what that word means and you can still get the right answer. Notice at the end it says revealed in court by several former employees. So something is revealed in court, you know it's a negative thing. And so therefore, this is in contrast with what people typically thought of Douglas's public persona as something that is positive. They saw him as a nice guy, but in court, his former employees showed or said that he wasn't such a nice guy. And that's the contrast here. Notice at the beginning, it says, even his fervent supporters struggle to reconcile. That's very GRE's or GRE way of sounding that you can also get lost in. So sometimes when you work backwards to the part of the sentence that you do know, it helps you get the blank. But what does that part mean? Even his fervent supporters. So even those who loved him the most it was hard for them to think, wow, how could what was revealed in court be the same as the Douglas that we know in public, we know and love? So that helps us get at the answer choice as well. But again, you don't need to know all these hard words. And pugnacious, by the way, it means combative. You like to fight. That was what was revealed in court. Here, though, we're going for words that are positive. His positive public persona, something that's the opposite of someone who likes to argue and engage in combat and verbal combat here. So we look at a hostile, and you can see hostile is the exact opposite. So we can get rid of that. As is at the very bottom, you see the word divisive, and that is similar to hostile. You're kind of sowing conflict. So A and F are out. Now it gets a little bit tricky though, and that's why these sentence equivalences questions can be kind of difficult. Affable means friendly. An affable person is someone that's easy to get along with. That contrasts pretty nicely with someone who's combative. But what about outgoing? Do you know outgoing people, aren't they friendly and nice? And D, extroverted? If someone's extroverted, they're social. But be careful here. Because someone is outgoing, does that mean that they're not necessarily combative or something negative? It just means that they put themselves out there in social situations and they talk to people and are open to talking to people. Same with extroverted. But is that as strong a word as answer choice B, affable and friendly, or answer choice E, genial? Someone's genial, they're friendly, easy to get along with. Both of those, B, affable and E, genial, are directly opposite to someone that's pugnacious or combative. And that's why those are our two answers. Alrighty, let's move on to the last one. Now, for the last one, I saved the most difficult. And this is one of those examples where it's not exactly clear sometimes what is going on in the sentence, at least one of the blanks. And you might have to reread it a couple of times and really try to figure out where the clues are because they're not always right next to the blanks. Okay, notice I said blanks. There are two blanks here. This is a double blank text completion on the GRE. You have to answer both of those blanks correctly to get any credit. Let's dive in. We often hear of eminent theories that were once ridiculed in the scientific community, yet eventually gained blank. Now, I'm going to stop there because I think that's the easier of the two blanks. And you can look there and already choose the one that makes the most sense. Now, this isn't always the case. Oftentimes, it's a better idea to read through the entire thing to get the big picture. But I think with this first blank, we're safe. Why? Well, it says we hear of eminent or respected theories that were once made fun of or ridiculed, yet eventually gained. So we know it has to be the opposite of ridiculed or made fun of. So I look at A, broad acceptance. If something's made fun of, oh, this is terrible versus, hey, people accept it. Those are pretty polar opposites. So A sounds positive as an answer. Let's look at B and C though. B, widespread calumny. Now that's a big GRE word, so let's just leave it there for a second. And C, sufficient notoriety. Notoriety is not necessarily a good thing. In fact, if something has notoriety, it's known for a bad thing. It's like notorious. So we know that we're just looking for something that was once maybe known for notoriety, but now it's something that people embrace or at least broadly accept. And so A works best there. And we don't even have to worry about that word calumny, which actually means slander. So we know that doesn't work. And this is good because this is going to help us get the rest of the sentence now. So the first part again is we often hear of these theories that were once made fun of, but now they're broadly accepted. I'm reading on. As inspiring as these rags to scientific riches stories may be, what often fails to capture the public's imagination are those many theories that were and are likely to remain blank. So what are they likely to remain? Well, there's a contrast. And the contrast here is as inspiring as these rags to riches scientific stories are, that goes or corresponds to that first thing, those eminent theories that were once made fun of but are now accepted. So it's contrasting those to this new kind of thing here, which is these other theories. What often fails to capture the public's imagination? So if you read the part, are these many theories, and that's the contrast. There's something about them that is not positive. They were not the ones that went from rags to scientific riches, but they were those that, well, they might not be inspiring. Notice that contrast as well. And they are likely to remain what? So something negative, something where they are not looked upon favorably. And then you get back to that first part of the sentence with ridicule. Some theories were once ridiculed, but now they're accepted. But we don't hear about those that are what? Continue to be ridiculed. So you can see how that whole sentence comes together then in that meeting. And let's go to the answer choices. I think D is a great trap. We see marginalized. And even if you understood the entire sentence right off the bat, seeing that word marginalized jumping out at you is a reason why you might choose D. It kind of works really well. But look at that word unfairly. Unfairly injects a feeling, an opinion on the author's part. Like these theories that, didn't make it from rags to scientific riches, that continue to be ridiculed, that's unfair. There would have to be specific context or words to show us that the author believes that's unfair, but there's nothing that does. And so we get rid of D. E, mostly validated, is the exact opposite. And then that leaves us with F, utter hokum. Even if you don't know this word, if you can get rid of answer choice D because of unfairly, this has to be the answer. Something that is hokum is kind of made up. It's almost BS, basically. It's stuff that you can make fun of or ridicule. And utter means complete. So that ties into the overall meaning of the sentence. Unsolved theories that were made fun of, but no longer are. We often hear of those, but what we don't hear much about are those that were simply bad and will remain bad going through, or will remain utter hokum. Get answer choice F. And for that first blank, it was answer choice A. Now, if you want more videos like this where we really walk through the GRE section, verbal section, and we really apply techniques and tips to questions that are, easy, medium, and as you saw with this last one, hard, check out more of my videos in the description below. And with that said, I'm Chris of Target Test Prep, and I look forward to doing more videos with you soon.